Hello and a very good morning. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television and this is India Votes with me, Frank Pereira. Let's start with the headlines. High voting across 91 constituencies in 11 states and 3 union territories. Will this be a vote for change? The fates of more than 1,400 candidates have been sealed in EVMs, several heavyweights including union ministers in the fray. Voting for the single Lok Sabha seat in Mizoram to be held today. An election commission seeks recordings of Mamata Banerjee's speech against the poll panel after its order to transfer state officials. Well, voting for the third phase of Lok Sabha polls took place yesterday. The electorate of as many as 91 constituencies spread in different parts of the country cast their votes. Let's take a look at how India voted in the third phase.
Moderate to brisk polling was recorded in the third phase of the Lok Sabha elections 2014. Spread across 11 states and 3 union territories, including the national capital, polling was held across 91 constituencies. Long queues were witnessed at polling stations across Delhi, where polling was held for all 7 constituencies. A number of enthusiastic first-time voters flocked the polling booths.
एक राइट है वोट डालना, अपने कैंडिडेट को चूज करने का अपना एक मोटिवेशन मिलता है खुद को ही कि अपनी तरफ से हम कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं कंट्री के लिए।
लोकां दे पढ़ाई वाले गवर्नमेंट आवे, लोटो गवर्नमेंट ना आवे।
In neighbouring Haryana, which also faced polls for all 10 Lok Sabha seats, polling began on a dull note. But it picked up during the day as more than 40% of the 1.6 crore voters cast their vote in the first 6 hours of polling. An impressive voter turnout was reported from the southern state of Kerala. Long queues of voters were seen in urban as well as rural areas as polling proceeded in a peaceful manner. The voting percentage in these 3 states where polling for the Lok Sabha polls ended stands at an all-time high. While Delhi saw a record turnout of 64% as compared to just 52.3% in 2009, Haryana too saw a healthy turnout of over 73% as opposed to 68% in 2009. However, Kerala recorded the highest turnout of about 74%, slightly higher than in 2009. In other states like UP, where polling was held for 10 of the 80 Lok Sabha seats, turnout stood at 65%, while in Jammu, the turnout was close to 66%. In Maharashtra, the turnout recorded was 56%, but is likely to go up to at least 60%. Union Territory Chandigarh created a record of highest ever poll percentage of nearly 72%.
Odisha is having simultaneous elections to Parliament and the Legislative Assembly. So 10 parliamentary constituencies and 70 assembly constituencies went to poll today. Turnout is expected to reach around 67% for this particular phase of poll. The turnout of the last parliamentary election was 65.3%.
आज हमको चाहिए कि हम एक अच्छे नेता का चुनाव करें, कर्मठ नेता का चुनाव करें, जो हमारी प्रगति के लिए, हमारे विकास के लिए सोचे।
आज जिस दिन की लोगों को उम्मीद थी कि 2014 आएगा, हम अपनी मन मर्जी की सरकार बनाएंगे, हिंदुस्तान की सरकार बनाएंगे, इस सिलसिले में आज लोगों में बहुत खुशी की उमंग बढ़ी हुई है।
However, polling in Naxal-affected states of Bihar, Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh was marred by violence. A cache of explosives were recovered from Maoist stronghold Bastar in Chhattisgarh. 6 can bombs were also seized in Gaya district of Bihar. Massive security was deployed in the Naxal-affected regions.
We have already deployed all the police personnel in and around all the police polling stations, especially LW polling stations and other critical polling stations. We have received central paramilitary force from ITBP and CRPF, and the state polices are also there.
The 4th phase of voting will be held on Saturday, with 5 seats in 3 states going to polls. The next big phase of polling will be held in the 5th phase on 17th April, where as many as 121 constituencies will go to polls. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And joining me early this morning on India Votes is Mr. K.V. Prasad, Associate Editor of the Tribune. Thank you so much, Prasad, for joining us here this morning. Let's take a look at some of the newspaper headlines now. Of course, this is the headlines across all the papers. Voter wave on the first big day is what the Indian Express is going with. The Hindu says high turnout in third phase. Battle for 91 seats in 14 states and union territories ends. And you have the Hindustan Times here also saying voters rule the day in Delhi and rest of India. High turnout augurs change in Delhi is the Pioneer's headline. And finally, the Times of India, of course, says city turnout points to vote for change. Very high voter turnout in the third phase. Prasad, did you expect such a high turnout? In fact, in all 11 states as well as 3 union territories, the voter turnout has been much higher than what it was in 2009.
Yeah, that was anticipated considering the fact that the kind of campaign that has been building up. And also remember that in a state like Delhi, you had the what was hitherto untested phenomena, the Aam Aadmi Party. If you really look at the statistics as said by the Election Commission, it's slightly lower than the assembly elections, but then it's much higher in terms of the last Lok Sabha election. And normally the political science theory is if there's a voter turnout which is higher, obviously it should ring the alarm bells for this party in power. That's the way
that's the way it is. Yes. It's a vote for change is how people like to put it.
Well, we really don't know.
Well, we don't know whether that's going to be the case.
Let me also put a caveat. If you remember, go back in 1984, when the country voted, I don't know how old you were, but then at that point of time, when the results came out and it was a sweep for one political party, the Congress in particular, and then the Chief Prime Minister, he said it was a change with continuity. So there was a change, a generational change happening, but continuity in terms of policies and programs. So anyway, that having been said, I think it's a very good sign that such a voter turnout, I think is a combination of factors if one looks at it. One, all political parties, the kind of campaign they carry adds to the thing. 10 crores new voters in this country in this election. So every segment adds to that.
Do you believe that the new voter is going to tip the balance in favor of a particular party?
We don't know. I mean, nobody obviously says which way he or she has voted. But the fact remains, you do expect that young voters got enthused to come and participate in the process of democratic.
How big a factor is the young voter in these elections?
It is very important, very crucial. And if you really look at the kind of postings that were going on Facebooks and Twitters and the social media, I think part of the excitement also was that people went, voted and wanted to show to the world that they voted. So that was kind of a participation, the kind of enthusiasm. And remember, worldwide, this is a phenomena that most political parties do face. How do you get the young voters in? This has been, in fact, 2008, one of the biggest challenges when the presidential elections took place in US was the young voters. How do you get them in? And this is what I think precisely has been the target audience for most political parties, especially the young voters.
And what has the role of the Election Commission been in all of this? How important or how crucial a role has the Election Commission really played?
I mean, you can never ever underestimate or overplay or underplay the role of Election Commission. The monitors are there. It's every election process, if you look from 1980s, has been an improvement over the previous one. And so it is undeniably the Election Commission which carries the day, because it gives you that kind of atmosphere that a free and fair poll takes place. It's not just the cities, but the crux lies in the villages and the interiors where the focus doesn't go. In terms of the media coverage is less because of access and interiors. I think that's where the people, and if you notice whatever reports came, whether in television channels or radio or on newspapers, people are comfortable with the way the arrangements were made.
Yes, indeed. The people were very comfortable with the kind of arrangements that were made, and a big pat on the back for the Election Commission as well. Let's look at some of these subheaders now in the Times of India, and this pretty much sums up what the election was like yesterday. Of course, voters defy Naxal bullets, flock to booths. Muzaffarnagar logs 68% turnout is another subheader here, of course. And similarly, in several of the other papers as well, there are some interesting stories, some heartening stories of how people have gone out and voted. Here you have in the Hindu, they rode across the Jamuna to vote. Here you have this picture as well showing people rowing across the river Jamuna and going across the river, because this was earlier Haryana and now of course it's a part of UP after decentralization, and now they've crossed the river Yamuna and gone and voted in small boats. Really heartening stories coming through, and it's interesting to see, and it's nice to see that people are going through so much to just come out and cast their vote.
Yeah, in fact, this particular story you refer to talks of the villagers who feel that while they're dependent for everything on Haryana, in terms of the daily livelihood and commute and other things, they are administratively attached to Noida, which is the adjoining where your studio is located, right? And they say we need to do that because otherwise we'll be forgotten by the administration. So we need to remind the administration all the time that we are part of you for all practical purposes, while they live and live off, they carry the daily chores towards Haryana. But these are many stories like this. If you really scan the newspapers, not just the English language, there are several interesting aspects as to how people are enduring what they endured to go and cast their vote and exercise their franchise. You see some villagers walking trek miles with children, with children in tow, young infants tied to their waist. So that speaks volumes about they have some hope for something. They're walking, trudging all the while. So that is where the strength of democratic process lies.
Indeed, that's where the strength of democratic process lies. But there were a couple of unfortunate incidents also that took place. This one here, Bengal minister's kin trashes election commission men. 2 FIRs were lodged in West Bengal as well after this particular issue. And then a similar headline in the Hindu as well. EC officials assaulted in West Bengal. Is it a fallout of what happened between Mamata Banerjee and the election commission that we are seeing?
Well, it seems so. We can't really say unless there's a proper investigation and link to that. But it's just a kind of, you can put 2 and 2 together. You feel that could be because a few days ago there was a showdown between the election commission and the over-transfer officials. So possibly some overexcited party workers got carried away and took the law into their own hands. But then that will be investigated, or whatever administrative action needs to be taken up. But if you really look at this, has been happening not just every time the election commission cracks the whip, a political party cries hoarse, and they say they're being victim or they're being targeted. So it's, I think, also speaks the robustness of the systems in place, and also that the fairness with which an election commission is operating. Because if everybody is saying you're unfair to them, or you're fair to others or unfair, it's like whoever gets targeted or whoever gets picked up for a fault-making exercise, they start crying foul.
Yes. So
that speaks that the election commission is doing its job thoroughly. That everybody says, we are not happy with you.
Well, that's unfortunate, but that certainly seems so. When someone is pulled up, you believe that they are doing their job. Unfortunately, that should not be the case. But another interesting, not interesting, but another incident that took place that was unfortunate was the CRPF men being attacked in Bihar. The Maoists, of course, attacking them there. How much of a problem is this going to be in the other phases of elections as well?
I think this has been factored. If you remember the way the elections have been scheduled in these areas, especially the left-wing extremist dominated areas, they have staggered it in a way to ensure that the polling personnel are transported safely. Remember, it's not just the casting of votes. You have to move the machinery, you have to make sure the machinery is in place, the people are in place, and also transported back to safe localities. So it's a huge logistic exercise. Yesterday I was hearing reading somewhere that almost so many number of helicopters of Indian Air Force have been stationed to transport people, officials, poll material, bring them back safe, to evacuate them from the zones which are access is limited through jungles and whatever. So this is a huge exercise, but unfortunately 2 people gave their lives. But over the years, if you really look at it, there has been a control on these situations. And I don't know where yesterday somebody mentioned that people belonging to this persuasion also came and voted. So, it speaks that the power of ballot should override the power of bullet.
It gives us a sense, doesn't it, that that's what's happening. The power of the ballot, people have understood the real power of the ballot, and they are going out and voting because they do not want to be mute spectators for the next 5 years. And that's the sense within every Indian at the moment.
See, if you really look at, it's not just here. You look at the insurgency hit areas of the northeast. You had militancy in Punjab, you had militancy in Jammu, Kashmir, but people came back to the democratic processes. It took time, but restoring the faith in the system, that's what was most important. So people actually walked away from the shadow of the gun to believe that the power lies in the vote. and a vote in a smooth democratic process, governments have been overthrown, changed in every 5 years or some periodicity when elections are held.
Yes.
That sense of fairness and participation is different.
All right. Let's now look at another aspect of the polls yesterday. Of course, there were a host of heavyweight candidates who were in the fray in the third phase of Lok Sabha elections. After casting their votes, the contestants expressed their confidence to win. Here's a look at some of the key contests in this phase and what they had to say.
The fates of a number of prominent candidates have been sealed in the third phase of voting on Thursday. The leaders exercised their franchisee and urged people to vote for a better India. Here's a look at some of the big contests that took place in different parts of the country. In the capital's New Delhi constituency, Congress's Ajay Makan is pitted against lawyer-turned-politician Meenakshi Lekhi of the BJP and journalist-turned-politician Ashish Khaitan of the Aam Aadmi Party. After the December Delhi election, in which the AAP made a strong debut, Makan is believed to have a tough fight on his hands, while others hope to turn the tables this time.
I'm very hopeful that in Delhi we are going to do very well, and I'm very hopeful that we'll win all the 7 seats.
दिल्ली के अंदर भारतीय जनता पार्टी की 7 सीटें होंगी और बीजेपी जीतेगी और अगले प्रधानमंत्री भारत के नरेंद्र मोदी होंगे।
10 साल से कांग्रेस केंद्र में है, 15 साल से कांग्रेस दिल्ली में थी, तो जो पहली बार वोट करने जा रहे हैं उन्होंने कांग्रेस के अलावा किसी और पार्टी को दिल्ली राज्य में और केंद्र में सत्ता में नहीं देखा है, तो उन्होंने जो देखा है उसके आधार पर वो वोट करेंगे।
In the Chandni Chowk constituency in Delhi, Union Minister Kapil Sibal is seeking to score a hat-trick, but is facing a stiff challenge from Delhi BJP Chief Harshvardhan and AAP's candidate Ashutosh, a former journalist.
हर इलेक्शन अपने आप में एक चुनौती होती है और पहले भी 2 इलेक्शन में चुनौतियां थी, इस बार भी है।
In UP's Ghaziabad, BJP's VK Singh is facing former actor Raj Babbar from Congress and AAP's Shazia Ilmi. The constituency has voted BJP since 1991.
आपको हर तरफ से वोट मिल रहा है, तो ये बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज हम देख रहे हैं इसमें, और मुझे लगता है कि बहुत ही पॉजिटिव रहेगा। लोग वाकई में गाजियाबाद में बहुत चेंज चाहते हैं।
देखिए, लोगों का बहुत उत्साह है चुनाव को लेके और मुझे उम्मीद है कि पोलिंग अच्छी होगी।
In Haryana's Gurgaon, the constituency bordering Delhi in the south, AAP leader Yogendra Yadav is challenging the BJP's 3-term MP and former Union Minister Rao Inderjeet Singh. The Congress has fielded its 3-time MLA Rao Dharampal from this seat.
इस बार वोट डालने कुछ मजा और है। ऐसा लग रहा है कि सिर्फ सत्ता इस वोट से शायद परिवर्तित ना हो, व्यवस्था भी परिवर्तित हो, तो बड़ी उम्मीद और उमंग से मैं भी और मैं समझता हूं कि हर देशवासी इस बार वोट डाल रहा है।
हरियाणा में तो हम एक नई शुरुआत कर रहे हैं, हमारा पहला चुनाव है और मैं समझता हूं जिस तरह से दिल्ली में पहले चुनाव में हमने सबको चौंकाया था।
In Chandigarh, former Railway Minister Pawan Kumar Bansal, a 4-term MP, is being challenged by 2 actors, Kiran Kher of the BJP and AAP's Gul Panag.
हर इंसान को निकलकर वोट डालनी चाहिए अपनी, और बहुत जरूरी है बिकॉज अगर आप अपना वोट नहीं एक्सरसाइज करते तो बाद में ग्रम्बल नहीं करना चाहिए कि गवर्नमेंट ने ये नहीं किया वो नहीं किया। आपका काम है सही इंसान को चुनकर भेजना।
पहले से और अच्छा होगा क्योंकि काम किया है, लोग काम को रिवॉर्ड करते हैं। मैं समझता हूँ जो जितना काम किया है लोग उसके कारण, क्योंकि यहाँ सोशल और फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर।
In Nagpur, in Maharashtra, former BJP chief Nitin Gadkari is facing off against an activist who has run a relentless campaign against him, accusing him of corruption. Anjali Damania is the AAP candidate.
मेरा पूरा विश्वास है कि लोग इस बार परिवर्तन चाहते हैं और मैं विश्वास के साथ कह सकता हूं कि इस समय का वोट चेंज के लिए है, क्योंकि भ्रष्टाचार और महंगाई से लोग पूरी तरह से त्रस्त हुए हैं और परिवर्तन चाहते हैं और निश्चित रूप से लोग एनडीए को, भाजपा को जिताएंगे, ये मेरा विश्वास है।
In Kerala, the candidates in fray include 6 union ministers: Shashi Tharoor, K. Suresh, K. C. Venugopal, K. V. Thomas, M. Ramachandran.
Overall in Kerala, UDF is doing very well. This time we will be better than the last year. Even you can go up to 20 after 20.
Union Minister Ghulam Nabi Azad is seeking a re-election from Jammu seat. He exuded confidence to repeat his feat this time too.
Congress will form UPA 3, that is 100% sure, and there is no chance for NDA whatsoever.
Apart from the candidates in fray, several key leaders also cast their votes today in the capital. The Gandhi family, including Priyanka Gandhi, queued up at polling station to cast their votes. AAP convener Arvind Kejriwal also exercised his franchisee. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Prasad, there were several key contests on the cards yesterday. Would you say that this would be a make or break election for some of them?
Well, of course, anybody who wins, and it would determine the fate for their own political careers, because some of them are freshers. They've entered for the first time, whether it is from the BJP or from the Congress or for the Aam Aadmi Party, the three, and also probably other parties which we don't really talk of. Every state has its own, like in UP, you have SP and BSP, which is a formidable force in these parts. And other states also, you have regional forces, Trinamool in particular in West Bengal or AIDMK, where elections are yet to be held. So obviously, if you say, for instance, a former army chief is contesting, what does he bring to the table? Years of experience.
Yes.
So people have to take a call on that. So all these are issues that you need to look at. Against him is a very well-known politician, a former film actor. So these are issues that people will have to look at it. Make and break for everyone, yes.
Yeah, all right, make and break for everyone, in fact, not just a few of them. But let's remind our viewers once again that voting has begun in the lone seat of Mizoram. Of course, people have already started going out and voting in Mizoram. The election was supposed to take place on Tuesday, but because there was a bandh in Mizoram on Tuesday, of course, the Election Commission decided to postpone it to today, and voting has already begun there in the lone seat of Mizoram. And Prasad, before I let you go, of course, one quick reaction to this particular story that's been being talked about in the social media extensively. The youngsters have picked it up, and they all seem to be having an opinion on this outrage over Mulayam's rape as mistake comment. He has come out and said, relating to the Mumbai gang rape, that boys make mistake, you should forgive them.
Well, I think it has not gone down well at all, and rightly so, because this is talks of a kind of mindset that you're coming from. Probably, I don't know what to say, but the fact remains there's a law of the land, and if the law of the land does permit what it does, and I think it's a very ill-timed kind of a situation, and it should have been, it's been rightly criticized by many factors.
All right. Ill-timed comment is how our guest here is putting it. Thank you so much, KV Prasad, for joining us on India Votes this morning and being a part of the show. On that note, we'll slip into a very quick break, but we'll be right back, to stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik, in an exclusive interview to Rajya Sabha Television, has said that the BJP's Prime Ministerial candidate Narendra Modi is a controversial character and has communal associations. In a rare interview to the media, he said Modi wave was a hoax and there is no insurgence of BJP in Odisha as perceived by certain sections of the media. He said even if the NDA government came to power at the centre, he would not have anything to do with the alliance. Rajya Sabha TV caught up with the Odisha Chief Minister while he was campaigning in the coastal region of the state that will go to polls on April 17th. Let's listen into what he had to say.
I think it's early days for the third front. Let's await the results of the elections.
Okay.
Then we can see. Well, I think, you see, he's a controversial candidate.
Okay.
And that communal shadow remains, which isn't healthy for the country.
Meanwhile, the issue of China dumping its goods in the Indian market at prices less than what it takes to manufacture them here has shaken up Indian manufacturers. From a trade and economy related concern, the issue has taken on a political dimension. The small and medium scale sector is worst hit, with political parties promising corrective action. Here's a special report.
Chemicals manufacturer Nosil India has suffered huge setbacks due to the China dumping factor. Despite meeting international production quality standards, insecurity reigns. Since 2005, demand has fallen sharply. China-made products are well on the way to taking over markets that Nosil once dominated.
Once the Chinese come in,
they have the ability to kind of push out the domestic industry in such an effective way through their pricing, through their huge volumes and capacities that they have at their disposal.
Hundreds of small and medium factories in Mumbai have shut down for lack of profitability and business sense to carry on. Most have shifted from manufacture to trade to stay afloat.
There are cases where industry has substantially closed down. Like people like in balloon industry and at a small scale, they have almost closed down.
China uses strong arm tactics to ensure that there is no stop to supply. This it does by showing lower prices during customs checks and pushing in goods via a third country by showing them as non-Chinese. There is a heavy tax on export of raw material which works to China's advantage. China also provides an array of export facilities for its own goods. Political parties in vote-seeking mode have come up with promises to curb dumping of Chinese products in the Indian market. The challenge to Indian industry is big enough, calling for urgent policy attention. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Votes. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.